My name is Alexis Volgaris, the RTM moderator. I would like to welcome everyone back to the September meeting after our very nice RTM summer break. As all members have received a copy of the call for tonight's evening, the meeting of the call will be omitted. At our September meeting, we have a long tradition of recognizing the students who participate in the Boys State and Girls State program from local area high schools. And this evening, I've asked them to lead us in the pledge. So if James Mack, if you and your students would like to come down and lead us in the pledge, we'd be happy to welcome you here. Would everyone please rise as the Boys and Girls State students lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening?
The flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd now like to introduce Mr. Mack, who is going to talk briefly about the program and also introduce the students who are here and some of their accomplishments this summer.
Thank you. Good evening, all. Thank you for inviting us tonight. The American Legion in Greenwich has sent students to Boys and Girls State for decades. And we are proud to continue this tradition, and we are proud of our students who consistently represent themselves, their families, and our town exceptionally well at the program. Since the 80s, the selection and sponsorship process was run by Irv Porter, who did a great service and great job for generations of students. But with his passing, our sponsorship was dormant for a year or two. This year, with the continued support of Libby Florin and Bill Herrick, we've jump-started the program, and it was a great year. The selection process began with a day of interviews at the American Legion building in Glenville, across from Glenville Pizza. The program itself occurred from June 22nd to June 27th on the campus of the University of New Haven, where students converge from across Connecticut. The students participate in a 6-day hands-on experience in the operation and fundamentals of government. Using our democratic system as a basis, the students construct their own state. I got a chance to go up to New Haven one afternoon and see the students in action, which was great to see. These students took the risk to put themselves in the arena, to debate and compromise and express their ideas. They did a fantastic job, which in turn reflects very well on our Greenwich families and our schools. The following students were sponsored by Post 29 and represented the town of Greenwich at this year's Boys and Girls State. From Greenwich High, Sophia Richer, Shreya Prabhu, Isabel Martinez, Ethan Pond, Caroline Boyer, Jennifer Yin, Chloe Hensky, Elon Amaro. From Brunswick, Tony Zhu. From Greenwich Country Day, Declan O'Keefe. And from Sacred Heart, Caroline Muccia. And a few special call-outs. A number of these participants ran and were elected to various positions. The towns and parties you will hear are part of their specific scenario, so don't try and correlate historic or current parties or towns. Sophia Richer, House of Reps and Board of Aldermen. Caroline Boya, Treasurer of Crawford Crossing, member of the House of Representatives, Treasurer for the Federalist Party, and State Comptroller of Girls State. Shreya Prabhu, Town Clerk, Chair of the Nationalist Party Rules Committee, and ran for the Secretary of the Nationalist Party. Ethan Pond, ran for Lieutenant Governor and was elected by the party for the nominee position. Elon Amaro, first selectman for the town of Hayes, and the Federalist candidate for state governor, who's also awarded the Ryan Adam Memorial Scholarship and named first alternate to Boys Nation. Thank you again. Great job.
Thank you very much and congratulations. And we look forward to seeing you again next year with your next crop of students. In June, we very sadly lost Bill Kelly, who was a long time volunteer in Greenwich, both on the District 6 RTM, the BET and the BOE. So I've asked Harry Fisher as chairman of the BET and Colleen Jenkins as chairwoman of District 6 to offer some memorial tribute. So you're both welcome up. Mr. Fisher looks like he's gonna go first.
Yes, I beat Colleen to the mic. Bill Kelly was a good man. He was a very good man. I'll miss him. I don't recall when I met him, but what I do remember about him is every time we saw each other, we just picked up where we'd left off. You know, we both believed in service to the government. We both believe that most local matters are nonpartisan. And we talked about that. He was a firm believer. He was a Democrat. I'm a Republican. Didn't matter. He served with distinction on the RTM, the Board of Estimate, the Board of Education, and school building committees. And that was where we last encountered ourselves, was on the Julian Curtis Building Committee when, you know, and I'll never forget walking into the media center in Julian Curtis and saying hello to Bill. And it was just like we hadn't, you know, we hadn't seen each other for a while, but it didn't matter. He was that kind of a guy. So, you know, I think we could all think in those terms about how we conduct ourselves and work with others and, you know, bridge the divides that I think have disturbed a lot of us. But think about Bill and his gentle, he was a gentle soul, and just remember that. And I thank you and God bless, Godspeed.
I am honored to talk about William G. Kelly, better known as Bill. Bill and I met in 1993 in front of the Old Greenwich School at school dismissal. We struck up a conversation. Bill and his wife Barbara and 2 daughters were new to town. He mentioned that he recently lost an election in 1988 for the United States House of Representatives. He ran to represent the 5th District of New York City. I offered him a solution for his civic engagement: run for the RTM. Bill followed up immediately and registered with the town clerk as a write-in candidate. At that election, Bill won with his seat with 5 votes. This was ground zero for Bill's public service to the town of Greenwich. During 3 decades, Bill served in our legislative body and on numerous key town boards. His list is as follows: Representative Town Meeting, the RTM Claims Committee, the Board of Education, the BOE liaison to the Board of Parks and Recreation, the Board of Estimate and Taxation, the Building Committee for Old Greenwich School and Julian Curtis, plus numerous special committees. The point is, Bill did not warm a seat. He shaped outcomes. In short, Bill applied his people skills, developed as one of 10 siblings, and his professional experience as managing partner for a law firm, and his goodwill. One example of shaping an outcome happened while Bill served on the Board of Education. where he calculated he volunteered 650 hours per year on that board. He commented, quote, "We liked and respected everybody on the board. Nobody was a bad guy. We had a great time." So said Bill. Bill was proud that he worked to open the gate, for instance, to advanced placement exams to all students that wanted to take them. Bill commented, quote, "Greenwich Public Schools went from 400 AP exams to 1,200 AP exams in just a few years. And the score went from 401 to 3.8. While these kids, all of these kids, and all of these years could have been, all of these kids, all of these years could have been taking AP. And so he's very proud that the gate was opened by the Board of Education. He feels that that changed lives and saved money for college. This is one specific outcome. In closing, Bill speaks to the citizens of Greenwich. His message is, quote, I think pretty much everyone should at one time or another join the RTM. You find out how the town works. More than 90% of the time, the RTM gets it right. You have conservatives and you have liberals. They ultimately coalesce around the right thing. That is my feeling, said Bill. Now his voice will be embedded in the town vault, along with the voices that shaped our town for 350 years. Thank you, Bill.
Would everyone please rise as we observe a moment of silence in honor of Bill Kelly? Thank you. We do have a number of announcements related to committees and boards this evening. I'd first like to recognize Steph Cowie, who's going to provide us with an update on the Central Middle School Building Committee. Dan, could you, I think we might need to just move the podium out a little bit. Thank you.
Be loud. We could open it. Sorry, takes a minute. Good evening, Madam Chair Vulgaris and fellow RTM members. My name is Steph Cowie of District 11. I'm the RTM ex officio member for Central Middle School Building Committee. The CMSBC is at a very busy quarter, achieving many regulatory milestones in the project, meeting several deadlines, P&Z, ARC, town approvals, construction document design completion, and change to our chairman. This is a high-level review for you tonight. For further details, please refer to the quarterly 8th report. Tony Turner stepped down on July 12, 2024 as our chair. The committee voted Joe Rossetti as our chairman. Our officers, Vice Chair Claire Kilgallen and Secretary Christina Posha remain. We hired Jones Lang LaSalle as our owner's rep project manager. CSG is our owner's rep for state reimbursements. We are nearing the completion of the pre-construction phase of the project, which should be completed in December of 24. Langen performed further soil testing and all samples are within limits. The Planning and Zoning Commission approved the final site plan and special permit for the project June 11th, 24. The professional team worked with the regulatory group to finalize and complete the conditions for permitting approval. We have one open condition for final approval. to complete final arrangements for temporary off-site parking for staff and construction workers. This is near completion. Additionally, the building committee has shifted from weekly to bi-weekly meetings, so our next scheduled meeting is on September 24th. The architects completed the campus design in July, and the budget control report confirmed we are currently within the appropriation of $112,017,000. The next step is public bidding. This project is publicly bid in 3 parts. Phase 1, approximately $3 million are long lead mechanical and electrical items. Those public bids came back on August 29th and are being reviewed and some potentially accepted at the next building committee meeting. Phase 2, this is the balance of construction work, approximately $94 million. At this point, we are 5 weeks behind in receiving our state approval to go out to bid for this phase. We expect to receive the state approval in the coming days. We are evaluating and developing courses of action to make up this lost time. Phase 3, this is the FF&E, meaning furniture, fixtures, and equipment phase. This is not part of the construction company's scope. In the coming months, our consultants in GPS will develop the FF&E procurement packages and plan. Groundbreaking is targeted for December 2024, but it is contingent upon final state approval to go out to bid and the subsequent development of the guaranteed maximum price, the GMP, for this construction manager at risk project by Turner Construction Company. The phasing of the construction is in 3 parts. Part 1, the new school is constructed where the current fields are located, with CMS students and staff staying in place and this building safely until the move to the new building of August of 26. Part 2, the new school is occupied and the construction shifts to demolition, creation of the parking areas. Part 3, this is the final part, creation of the natural grass engineered and irrigated fields. We will continue to evaluate the project for safety and any impact to the end users and the surrounding community, and will continue to communicate with the CMS community, neighbors, the RTM, and town entities as the project progresses. Thank you very much and have a good evening.
Thank you. Our next announcement is from Rob Carter of District 6.
Thank you. Hey, folks, Rob Carter, District 6. And I just wanted to let you guys know about a new benefit that we have as RTM members now from our friends over at the Greenwich Municipal Employees Federal Credit Union. For those not familiar, well, actually now we can, the benefit is that we can now be members of the Greenwich Municipal Employees Federal Credit Union. For those not familiar, a credit union, it's basically a nonprofit bank is how you can think of it. They offer financial services similar to a bank, typically at better rates due to the nonprofit status, checking and savings accounts, credit cards, mobile banking, student loans, home equity loans, auto loans, that type of thing. This one's set up for Greenwich employees, is the concept. But special thanks out to Marie, I only emailed with her, so Corrente, I think I got her name right, the assistant manager there. I was personally looking for an auto loan. They had a very competitive rate. I shot Marie an email asking, like, as RTM employees, are we eligible for this benefit? And she said no, which I expected. But then she said, but you could be. We could take it to the board. And Alexis was aligned that this might be something that folks are interested in. And so she took it to the board, and now we have this benefit. Unfortunately, timing didn't work out for me. I wasn't able to do it, but it was a very good rate. So if you guys do have any needs like this, I recommend you check them out. I think it's also available to immediate family members, still confirming that, but I know with the employees, it's definitely available to their immediate family members. But if you're interested, apply online. There was supposed to be some pamphlets.
They're right behind you.
Okay. Pamphlets up here on the stage if anybody wants to check it out. I'll shoot an email to the group with the website so you guys can have that link there. But anyway, just that'll be something you guys to know. So,
Thank you.
Yep.
And props to Rob for discovering that resource that we all now benefit from. And the pamphlets are up here. You're welcome during a vote to come up and get some. Bob McKnight has a candidate recruitment announcement plea.
Good evening. Your Appointments Committee is seeking volunteers to man the Flood and Erosion Control Board at the urging of the Commissioner of Public Works. I hope you have now received a description of the FECB or have access through your district chairman. Any interested persons should contact myself or Jude Collins. The FECB is a valued and much-needed group to benefit our town. Thank you.
Thank you. James Waters, our chairman of the Budget Overview Committee, with an update on the Havemeyer RFP.
Good evening, members of the RTM. Many of you may have read some news articles over the summer about the pending RFP for the Havemeyer building. The Budget Overview Committee asked the First Selectman and Andy Deuce, the chair of the Havemeyer RFP Committee, to brief BOC on the RFP that's been issued. They graciously attended our meeting, walking us through members of the RFP Committee to include people like Bill Finger, Karen Hirsch, Sophie Coven, Joe Kelly, Mark Johnson, David Kubik, Deb Hawley, Maggie Deitman, and others. They informed us they're seeking to find the highest and best use of the current Havemeyer building and had published an RFP in July 2024 to solicit potential alternative use cases. RFP submissions are due by mid-November and will be graded by the RFP committee, who will deliver a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. It was emphasized to the BOC that the current RFP is exploratory, with the ultimate decision resting with the Board of Selectmen, Board of Ed, BET, and RTM. BOC did hear that an analysis on the budget impact has not yet been completed and would depend on the RFP results. For example, if there is a viable long-term lease option recommended that produces revenue to the town, it will need to be weighed against the ultimate rent cost for the Board of Ed's personnel to work in a different yet still appropriate location. In addition, we heard that evaluation has not yet been conducted on the property with the ballpark 74 to $100 million range that's been mentioned coming from the assessor's office. I had a chance to take a brief tour of the Havemeyer building last week, where the old auditorium was long ago converted into space for IT and conference rooms. It seems clear that whatever the ultimate decision is will require significant investment to abate and renovate the building, given its condition, historic significance, and premier location. I know that the Budget Overview Committee is looking forward to watching this process play out. We just wanted to brief you. We did discuss that we hope the ultimate recommendation keeps the operating and capital budgets in mind and ensures that our Board of Ed and GPS admin have an appropriate facility for their ongoing work with our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final announcement I'm going to be making. At our October meeting, I always like to recognize the RTM members who served as veterans, because it's the last meeting before, or the one that's closest to Veterans Day. I know who some of you are, but I may not know who all of you are in terms of your service. So if you would like to be recognized, and I realize that that's a very personal thing for some people, and some people like to share more than others, please let me know. I'm going to send an email to the folks that I know already, but if for some reason I don't capture you, just send me an email and we can discuss if you would like to be recognized next month. There's no pressure to be recognized if you don't want to be recognized, but it is very nice. Usually we have a small group of 5 or 6 veterans who lead us in the pledge, and I'd like to continue that for next month as well. All right, did I miss anybody for an announcement? Did I get everybody who emailed me? I think I did. Okay. As all members have received a copy of the minutes from the June meeting, the reading of those minutes shall be omitted. Are there any proposed changes from our June meeting? Hearing none and absent objection, the June minutes stand adopted upon unanimous consent. Okay, so super important this evening. Everyone has done a terrific job mastering their clicker. We're going to switch the time. We're going to dial it from 2 minutes to 1 minute. The grid, you'll see it. It's in alphabetical order. I apologize that the side screens are not working. We tried to do it not using a hard Ethernet cable with all the cables running up and down. I think we learned our lesson, so October will come in 3 hours early instead of 2 hours early and wire that up for everybody. Okay, the tech number, if anybody needs it, is still the same. It's 203-992-8383, and Jackie will be happy to help you with that. Okay, that brings us to the call for tonight's evening. I notified the membership that I would recommend the following organization of our call, and it is going to be consent items. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Town Services did meet with the candidates, so that's staying on the consent calendar this evening. 7, 8, 9, 12, 13, 14, and 15, combined for the purposes of postponing item 10 and 11, and separate items 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Pursuant to our rules, I will designate items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 13, 14, and 15 to our consent calendar. And if those items remain on the consent calendar, all you will hear is what I'm about to read. Item 1 is the nomination of Paul DeBarry to be appointed a regular member of the Board of Ethics, term expiring June 30th, 2027. Item 2 is the nomination of Tracy Friedman to be appointed a regular member of the Board of Parks and Recreation, term expiring June 30th, 2027. Item 3 is the appointment of Sue Moretti Bodson to be appointed a regular member of the Board of Parks and Rec, term expiring June 30th, 2027. Item number 4, the appointment of Richard Lowe to be a regular member of the Board of Parks and Rec, term expiring June 30th, 2027. Item number 5, Ted Berenbaum to be appointed a regular member of the Board of Parks and Recreation for a term expiring June 30th, 2025. Item number 6 is Stephanie Dunn Ashley to be appointed a regular member of the Alarm Appeals Board for a term expiring June 30th, 2028. Item number 7 is the appointment of Michael Berenger to be appointed an alternate member of the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses One-Word Agency for a term expiring October 31st, 2027. Item 8 is the appointment of Ann Noel Jones to be an alternate member of the Planning and Zoning Commission for a term expiring October 31st, 2027. Item number 9 is the appointment of John Nelson to be an alternate member of the Historic District Commission for a term expiring October 31st, 2029. Item number 12 is the appointment of Nirmal Patel to be a regular member of the Nathaniel Wither Board of Directors for a term expiring June 30th, 2027. Item number 13 is the appointment of Natalie Queen to be a regular member of the Board of Human Services for a term expiring June 30th, 2027. Item number 14 is the appointment of Kate Tabner to be a regular member of the Nathaniel Witherell Board for a term expiring June 30th, 2027. And item number 15 is the appointment of Veronica Chivaroli to be a regular member of the Julian Curtis School Building Committee. Is there any objection to those items being placed on the consent calendar? Okay, Craig, could you please prepare the vote for consent calendar items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 13, 14, and 15? Okay, you should be in alphabetical order. We're going to set it for 1 minute. If you are in favor of those nominations, you on the consent calendar, items on the consent calendar, you would vote yes. If you are opposed, you would vote no. Craig, could you open the vote, please? Thank you. Has everyone cast their vote that would like to cast their vote? If you've cast your vote, it will look blue, Myra. It will look blue. If you have not cast a vote, it will look white, I believe. Okay. Whatever. No, that's nothing. Okay. Everyone okay? Okay. Craig, could you please close the vote? Okay, the vote on the consent calendar is 184 in favor, 2 opposed with 0 abstentions. Craig, could you please show the vote? He's working on showing the vote. All right, you know what I'll do is when you get the vote up, we're going to move to the next one. And then when it's ready, this is the peril of having a summer break for 3 months and we're a little rusty. Okay. So we are going to move to the combined calendar. Combined calendar are items 10 and 11. In order to combine items, we need a motion to suspend the rules. Is there a motion to suspend the rules to combine for voting purposes items 10 and 11? It has been moved and seconded to combine for voting purposes items 10 and 11. The motion to suspend the rules is not debatable and requires a 2/3 majority to pass. We can try doing this by unanimous consent, but if anyone objects, we would need to take a record vote. Does anyone object to combining the rules, to suspend the rules to combine for purposes of 10 and 11? Okay. Hearing none, the motion to suspend the rules and combine for voting purposes item 10 and 11 has been adopted upon unanimous consent. Item 10, Mr. Dan Quigley, Chairman of our Land Use Committee.
Thanks, Madam Moderator. Welcome back, everybody, from summer. Hope everyone had a great summer. Item number 10, resolved that Lawrence Imbrogno is nominated by the Board of Selectmen to be appointed as an alternate member of the Fair Rent Commission for a term expiring July 1st, 2025.
Thank you. Is there a second? The item has been moved and seconded and is now before us. Mr. Quigley, don't stray too far. It's my understanding that you have a motion related to this.
Yes, Madam Moderator, we would like to make a motion to postpone this.
Okay. Mr. McKnight, you're coming up too, but you're okay with them postponing? Okay. That brings us to item number, Ms. Jordan. Oh, until October of 2024. Okay, next month. Okay, thank you. Any debate on that? No, okay. Mr. McKnight, would you like to come up and offer item number 11?
Resolved, the following named person nominated by the Board of Selectmen be appointed as a regular member of the Commission on Aging, R1, for a term expiring June 30th, 2027.
Great. And you also have, oh, I'm sorry, may a member please move the adoption of the resolution? The resolution has been moved and seconded and is now before us, and you also have,
Yes, Mr. Levy did not attend our meeting on the 10th, so your Appointments Committee is making a motion to postpone the nominee to our October call.
great, that nomination being offered on behalf of a committee does not require a second. Does anyone object to that being postponed? Okay. We can adopt a rule to postpone these upon unanimous consent. Does anyone, otherwise we'll take a record vote. Does anyone object to postponing items 10 and 11 to our October 2024 meeting? Hearing none, those items have been postponed to October 2024 upon unanimous consent. Okay, that now brings us to the first of our separate items, The first one being item 16, and we have First Selectman Camillo, who's going to introduce that for us.
Good evening, Madam Moderator, members of the RTM and guests. Welcome back. This item concerns the Westchester Intermunicipal Airport Master Plan Agreement between 6 municipalities, including Greenwich, and the item is as it appears on your call.
Thank you very much. Will a member please move the adoption of the resolution? The resolution has been moved and seconded and is now before us. May we have the reports from the committees that considered this item, beginning with Kip Bergweger of the Legislative and Rules Committee?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Good evening, members of the RTM and honored guests. Legislative Rules took this item up at our Monday meeting last week. We did not have a representative from who would work directly on it, but we did have the town attorney Barbara Schellenberg, who had attended the Board of Selectmen meetings and gave us a very brief briefing on this item. The history is actually laid out in the whereases of the ordinance. And basically, we have the Westchester County operating an airport. And it's over the past several years, there's been an agreement which regulates the number of passengers that can board or pass through the airport access in any given air time, and that controls among other things, number of flights. And they're going to expire in December, but this is basically, this agreement is being amended in a few minor matters and otherwise extended by the Westchester County and its negotiations with the airlines. If we don't join with the other municipalities in pursuing this, we may well wake up on January 1st with planes flying over at 3 in the morning. So we felt this is an either or, take it or leave it. So we're taking it, and we voted 11-0-0 on legal order and 11-0-0 on the merits. District 3 was absent.
Thank you very much. I think we have the vote ready now. Craig, do you want to display it? This is for the consent calendar, the moment of truth. There it is. So we'll leave that up for a while in case people are chomping at the bit to see what their vote was. Anthony Moore, Transportation. Is he here or is somebody else giving that report tonight? Who's giving the transportation report? Lisa Edmondson.
Transportation took up item 16, and as Kip said, we understood that the severity of not agreeing to this agreement, and we were the last town to do so. So we passed it unanimously, 10-0-0, with districts 3 and 11 absent.
Thank you. No one has signed up to debate this item. I don't know if anyone wants to say anything before we call for the vote. Okay, so Craig, could you please prepare the voting window for item 16, which is the Westchester Airport Task Force Agreement? It's coming. There we go. So item 16, the Westchester Airport Task Force Terminal Use Agreement. If you're in favor of approving this agreement, you would vote yes. If you are opposed, you would vote no. Craig, could you please open the vote? Mhm. It's coming back as a second read anyway. You what? Okay, has everyone cast their vote that would like to vote? Okay, Craig, could you please close the vote? Okay, I have the vote on item 16, the airport terminal use agreement. Those in favor, 183, opposed 0, abstaining 0. That item has carried. Craig, could you please show the vote? Okay, we'll leave that up for a moment. Item number 17, which is the Traveling Animal Circus Act. Mr. First Selectman Camillo, I believe you have a gift for us.
Got a pet alligator outside. Thank you, Madam Moderator. Several months ago, the United States Humane Society called me, an organization I used to work with a lot when I was in the legislature, and asked if the Board of Selectmen would take up this issue of traveling animal circuses. And with the thinking on their part and sort of on mine, that what happened in Stanford well over, I think, a decade ago, when there was an attack and a woman was severely injured, there was no state law. And so, of course, the legislature reacted and put something in place. So the idea was to be proactive here. But I did explain to my friend that because nothing has really happened here, and we haven't had that in a while here in circuses, at least in about 40 years, that probably wouldn't be looked upon too favorably, but we would take it up anyway. And that's what we did. And we voted it out. So I did talk to them the other day, and I suggested they may want to pull this back and wait for another time to bring it. And they did say absolutely, and they wanted to thank the RTM for the discussions on that. They were very, very grateful. So again, thank you, and it's Monday Night Football, so you get out here. a little
Okay,
early.
wait. You missed the key thing. Did I hear the magic words that you are withdrawing this item?
This item is withdrawn.
Thank you. Okay. That was a smart move. Item 18, the ordinance on the Bruce Park Historic Designation. Andrew Malillo, are you reading that for us, sir? If you could introduce that resolution.
Sure, there's one typo I made that I wanted.
Yep, you can offer it as a substitute resolution. You're just gonna,
Okay, yeah, item 18, property owned by Town of Greenwich, the following property known as Bruce Park is hereby designated as an historic property pursuant to the provisions of General Statute Section 7147P through 7147Y. And then a property description.
yeah, the item is it as appears on the call.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Is there a second to that? The item has been moved and seconded and is now before us. May we have the reports from the committees that considered this item beginning with Dan Quigley, Chairman of our Land Use Committee.
Thanks again, Madam Moderator. Land use took this item up, and I think the sentiment in the room was generally supportive of it, but we had a lot of members with questions about the complexities of the item, questions about what would happen to people who own property that are, in and around these designated areas, what it means to have a historic property instead of a historic building or district. And we were kind of going down that road, and then Ryan Brunberg from Legislative and Rules came to our committee and was asking us, hey, do you guys have a lot of questions on this? We do too. And once we sort of got the gist with that, we decided that it wasn't something we felt we could really vote on at that time. There were just too many questions. But again, I think the feeling was generally supportive that we obviously want to protect the historic districts and we want to protect our environmental areas like Bruce Park.
Thank you. Who's going next? Kip Bergweger from our Legislative and Rules Committee, to be followed by Catherine LaBalbo of Parks and Recreation.
Legislative and Rules took this up at their meeting last Monday. We did not have a member of the Historic District Commission in attendance because he was unable to meet with us. And as Mr. Quigley just reported, we had the same situation. Our members raised a number of questions about the purpose of this designation, how the ordinance would impact infrastructure projects or improvements by other town entities, such as the Department of Public Works or Parks and Recreation. Clarification on what the land use approval process for such projects would be, given that this is town property, and how it aligns with the plan of conservation and development was another set of questions. And again, lacking this information, we did not feel comfortable taking action on this item. And we agreed that we should vote against the motion to suspend the rules and waive the second read rule should that motion be postponed or proposed. So we will invite representatives from the Historic District Commission and Parks and Recreation to attend our meeting next month ahead of the second read, provide more information and answer questions. This matter was not referred to the Parks and Recreation Committee, although I understand a representative will be speaking in a moment. But we do feel that before the second reading, it should appear on the call and be assigned to Parks and Rec as well as the others. Thank you.
Thank you. Catherine LaBalbo, Chairwoman of the Parks and Recreation Committee.
Good evening, Madam Moderator and members of the RTM. Your Park and Rec Committee was not assigned this item, but took the item up on a 2/3 majority vote. The vote was 10 for, 1 against, no abstaining to take up the item. As you can see, because it was not assigned to us. We're not normally a board that wants to go outside the bounds, but this had very clearly was something that your Park and Rec Committee was familiar with this item. We also had just been interviewing a number of members from the Park and Recreation Board itself. We were joined by Tracy Chapman, who had Tracy Freeman, who had not Tracy Chapman, that would have been exciting.
Driving a very fast car.
Tracy Freeman, but also exciting, who had been able to inform us how the Board of Park and Recreation actually had been given a presentation on the historic preservation of this park. Being in District 2, when I joined the RTM in 2015, the park was in a state of a bit of duress as the Connecticut Siting Council had decided that it would like to run high-rise, high-voltage power lines clear-cutting through Bruce Park. And they even did renderings, which are delightful, and I passed around and shared around at our committee meeting. At the time, District 2 worked very, very hard. In fact, one of our members became what is called an intervener in the case with the Connecticut Siting Council, hand in hand with the town. Peter Tessie was selectman at the time. At the time, the planning director, Katie DeLuca, had mentioned it would have been beneficial for us to have some kind of statement collectively from places like our Greenwich RTM, putting this property in some type of historic mention. We did have the historic report, which I'm sure many of you have seen, has been posted on the website for a very long time. The Park and Rec Committee, I wanted to take up a vote, and was noted that land use or legislative rules may have different opinions or members with other questions, but as is our purview, it's to protect those passive spaces as well as the active ones. At the time in 2015, Bruce Park was referred to as almost our central park. Many, many years ago, Bruce Park was bifurcated by I-95. So some here may have relatives who remember that instance. So it's not that this park has never been before under an impending large change that we did not really have official statements in place that we would have historic protections on this park, and that this is a true gem. It has many, many uses. Obviously, you probably go there for the museum. You can also go there to play tennis. You can go there to play baseball or softball or tennis and sit by or walk by the park. So it really is a gem in District 2. If you have not been, I invite you to come. We took up this item and voted 11-0-0 in favor of it, was a strong showing of support from your Park and Rec Committee. So in deference to my other committee members, I understand their familiarity with, this park, and those nuances that I just described may not have been at their fingertips. But this has a legacy. This park has a legacy in our community where we really felt very strongly to put protections on it. Is something that's the right thing to do, and something that that hasn't been done for quite some time now. It was also incredibly reassuring to hear from our board members that are appointed and work with Joe Siciliano and the Department of Park and Rec, that our understanding was the department did not hold objections or concerns. That has not always been the case in the past for other parks or other items where historic preservation has been on the table. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As this is a proposed new ordinance, this item is subject to our second read rule and will automatically appear on our calendar next month, barring a motion to suspend the rules. I'm not aware of anyone that intends to offer to suspend the rules, and you've heard from our committees that they actually would like more time to consider this. So that item is automatically going to roll over to October 2024. That brings us to item 19, Michael Mason, the Teamsters contracts. Michael Mason, our labor negotiator.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Tonight we have the Teamster contract. I'll give you the resolution. Resolved that the representative town meeting, in the exercising its authority pursuant to the Connecticut General Statute 7-474B, and the fiscal 24 through 26 budget resolutions, hereby rejects the use of the funds necessary to implement the terms of the Local 456 International Brother of Teamsters. Before there it resolved that the representative town meeting rejects any terms of such agreement which may be in conflict with the town charter, special act, ordinance, rule, or regulation adopted by the municipal employer or its agents of the town.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Will a member please move the adoption of the resolution? The resolution has been moved and seconded and is now before us. May we have the reports from the committees that considered this item? Adam Leader, Labor Contracts is going to go first. One of the vice chairs. I think everyone on your committee is the vice chair if they're not the chair. How many do you have? You have like 3 vice chairs or something, don't you?
I'm the secretary.
All right.
I'm
Oh, sorry. You're the
assistant.
secretary. I was going to give you a promotion. You should have taken it.
Labor contracts met September 3rd with Town Labor Negotiator Mike Mason, who presented item 19 on behalf of the First Selectman. Dr. Jonathan Budd, GPS Chief Human Resource Officer, also joined to answer GPS-related questions. Mr. Mason told LCC the Greenwich Teamsters Unit has about 420 full-time equivalent employees. This includes employees in many different job families in nearly every town department, GPS, and Nathaniel Witherell. It also includes a number of part-time employees, and the Witherell employees make up about a third of the unit members. Mr. Mason said that the town's goals included term length, compensation, work rules, and uniforms. The Teamsters goals were notable in that some were specific to the Nathaniel Witherell employees and others applied to the overall membership. On economics, Mr. Mason said that the tentative agreement calls for a 4-year duration, an annual 2.5% gross wage increase, and an annual 0.5 increase in employee healthcare contribution from today's 14% to 16% in the final year of the agreement. He said that the cost of contract from the town comptroller says costs rise an incremental 11.89% over the 4 years, bringing the annual cost of these roughly 400 employees to about $52 million in the 2027-2028 fiscal year. As a reminder, this is an estimate based on prior values and forecasts for retirements, healthcare, other benefit costs, overtime, et cetera, which can't be known for certain. Mr. Mason told LCC that while this was a negotiated settlement, it was agreed only after several sessions of negotiations reached no agreement and after required state mediation failed. This tentative agreement continues a recent sequence of successfully negotiated tentative agreements in Greenwich at, not above, the corresponding average Connecticut municipal benchmark settlements, he said. LCC questions to the labor negotiated were in the areas of the possible outcomes of arbitration. Is compensation high enough to reasonably fill openings as they arise? Past 4-year agreements in Greenwich, the possibility of setting a pattern of 4-year agreements, and BOE support of the tentative agreement. The Board of Education did not take up the tentative agreement, but Dr. Budd was consulted during the process as he was a part of the extended negotiating team, which, by the way, also included town HR department leaders, department heads, and BET representatives. LCC noted the efforts to consult stakeholders before and during negotiations while respecting the rules agreed by the parties and state law. I understand Mr. Mason gave substantially the same presentation to RTM standing committees that he gave to LCC and that he answered the questions posed by committee members. Now the vote. LCC supports the signed tentative agreement in item 19. Therefore, LCC is against item 19 as worded in the call. The vote was 0-5-0 with 1 member absent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. James Waters, Chairman of the Budget Overview Committee.
Good evening. To avoid repeating what you just heard, the Budget Overview Committee voted 0-12-0 to reject item 19, i.e. to accept the contract as negotiated. Town Labor Negotiator Mike Mason attended our meeting as well, providing an overview of the Local 456 contract. I will skip a lot of the other details since Mr. Leader added them. Couple big points that are worth everybody's attention is that this is one of the largest contracts for the town, with total costs approaching $200 million over 4 years. Second is that BOC heard that the negotiating team feels good about the increase in the healthcare contribution in this contract, beginning to bring the contract in line with others in town. And as I said, BOC voted 0-12-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg Zorthian, Chairman of our Finance Committee.
Madam Moderator, fellow members of the RTM and guests, you've heard in great detail by the 2 previous speakers of the kinds of questions and discussion that Finance had on this labor contract. Finance met with Public Works and with Education, to be briefed by Mike Mason, as well as Board of Ed and the LCC. We have really nothing to add to what you've heard. The finance vote was 0-11-0 with District 3 absent.
Thank you. Cheryl Moss, Chairwoman of the Public Works Committee.
Good evening, and luckily for everybody, I have nothing to add. And the Public Works Committee voted 10-0 with districts 2 and 9 absent.
Thank you. Steve Rubin, Chairman of the Education Committee.
Good evening. Needless to say, after being the fifth person speaking, I have very little to add. The only thing I might add was that the workers involved in this, and I don't recall any of the other committees saying it, Nathaniel Witherall, the nurses represented 32% of the workers here, custodial workers at the schools, cooks, laborers, and maintenance workers. Other than that, you've heard everything. And our vote in education was 0-12-0 to reject it or therefore accept this contract. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Richard Newman, nice to see you again. You thought you were getting out of chair duties and you're acting chair today.
Acting.
Richard Newman, Acting Chair of Town Services.
Town Services met last Tuesday with Mr. Mason and with Chair Josh Brown of the Labor Contracts Committee. Our vote was 0-10-0 to reject.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, no one has signed up to speak on this item. Craig, would you please prepare the voting window for item 19? As a reminder, this is worded to reject. Let's get the. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Meskers. I think okay, so this is worded to reject the Teamsters Local 456 contract. If you are in favor of rejecting the contract, and if you successfully reject it, it would go to arbitration, you would vote yes. If you do not want to reject the contract, you would vote no. Yep, you can open it. The vote's open and you may cast your vote.
I know, but I named them, so it should be like bacon or bacon, but I put it in a name, should put it under initial, because the other initial. I know that, yeah, but it will say like bacon. Oh. Which I think is better. I know, I like that. Muted. You're muted.
Has everyone cast their vote? Okay. Craig, could you please close the window? Okay, I have the vote on the motion to reject item 19. Those in favor of rejecting 11, opposed 173, abstaining 5. That item has failed. Okay, Craig, could you please show the vote? Okay. That brings us to our final item of the evening, item 20. Jonathan Budd of the Board of Education is introducing this item.
Good evening, everyone. Jonathan Budd, Chief Human Resources Officer for the Greenwich Public Schools. The call item is this: resolved that the representative town meeting of the town of Greenwich hereby rejects the use of funds necessary to implement the terms of the agreement between the Board of Education and the Greenwich Organization of School Administrators, representing our school administrators for the period July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2028. The Board of Education has voted on this contract unanimously 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Will a member please move the adoption of the resolution? Where's Steve Rubin? Oh, there you are. Okay. That was like not okay for a minute there. Is there a second? It has been moved and seconded and is now before us. May we have the reports of the committees that consider this, beginning with Adam Leader, Secretary of Labor Contracts.
Thank you. LCC met with Dr. Budd on September 3rd. He presented item 20 to us on behalf of the Board of Education. Mike Mason also contributed context and answered questions. Dr. Budd told LCC that GOSA has 54.5 full-time equivalent employees, including building leaders and assistant leaders, department coordinators, and house administrators, but not the superintendent's direct reports. The 0.5 FTE is the adult education coordinator, which is a half-time position. Dr. Budd said that this contract is on a state-mandated timeline such that it is complete or hope to be complete before the first corresponding budget cycle of the contract, so that updated costs can be included in the entire budget cycle. This contract is scheduled to take effect July 1st, 2025 for the 3 years following. Because of Greenwich's specific budget timelines and this state law, Greenwich is the first in this year's class of like agreement, so there wasn't a fresh history of Connecticut school administrator settlements to benchmark to. Greenwich is first. Dr. Budd said that the BOE's goals included controlling wage and benefit costs, assuring competitive compensation to attract and retain the best available administrators, and aligning the BOE with the overall labor strategies and practices of the town of Greenwich. On economics, Dr. Budd said that the tentative agreement calls for a 3-year duration, an annual 2.9% gross wage increase, an annual 2.9% increase in the optional annuity, and an annual 1% increase in employee healthcare contribution from today's 21% to 24% in the final year of the agreement. DPS considers the annuity part of the employee's base salary because it is optional and can be received as base salary. The 24% contribution to healthcare reflects the higher wages of this unit. The labor negotiator said not to expect all units to contribute at that level because of lower wages. Unfortunately, this agreement was reached in mid-August, very close to the call deadline and the LCC meeting. Due to staff availability during the period after the unit and the Board of Education voted to approve the agreement, the cost of contract from the town controller nor the final language of the tentative agreement was published by the town clerk with the call. It wasn't available until after LCC's September 3rd meeting. Therefore, they were not reviewed by LCC during deliberations. LCC relied on Dr. Budd's representations because per state law, the LCC and RTM have a limited time to consider rejecting the agreement after a signed tentative agreement. The cost of contract and agreement language have since been published by the town clerk as attachments to the September call for your review. If you haven't seen them, they're available to you right now. They show costs rise an incremental 9.54% over the 3 years, bringing the annual cost of these 54.5 employees to about $13 million in the 2028-2029 fiscal year. The contracts last. As a reminder, and this same estimate stuff I read last time, Dr. Budd characterized this as a thin agreement because it's shorter than most of the other Greenwich labor contracts regarding work rules. However, one change to these was a clarification of step changes when an employee moves to a new job family, such as a promotion. Steps are a minor factor in the total cost of this agreement because all but 3 employees are on the top of 3 steps. Dr. Budd told LCC that while this was a negotiated settlement, it was agreed only after bargaining sessions without agreement and after the required state mediation failed. This negotiated settlement is at the average range of corresponding settlements for school rolls over the past 30 months. LCC questions to the labor negotiator centered around the possible outcomes of arbitration. Is the compensation high enough to reasonably fill openings as they arise? The possibility of setting a pattern of 2.9% increases, and the impact of this GOSA agreement on next year's negotiations with the Greenwich Education Association, the teachers. Dr. Budd said that GPS and BOE believe this was a very strong negotiating process. The Board of Education voted 7-0-0 to approve the tentative agreement, and LCC again noted the efforts to consult stakeholders before and during negotiations. The vote was 5-0-0 with 1 member absent.
Wait, 050.
050 with one member.
Okay, thank you. James Waters, Chairman of our Budget Overview Committee.
Good evening. The Budget Overview Committee voted 0-12-0 on item 20 to accept the contract as negotiated. Dr. Budd attended our meeting and provided us an overview of the contract. I will not repeat what you have already heard. We did discuss the cost of contract, which was available in advance of our meeting and was shared with all of our members. Like we did hear that a key objective of this contract was keeping GWI at 2.9%, and that objective was achieved. It is also in line with or below some of the recent administrator contract settlements across the state from the last season, as Mr. Leader mentioned. By way of comparison, towns like Darien, Ridgefield, and Wilton recently settled or last year settled at GWI increases at or above 3%. BOC heard that various features of this contract, to include the healthcare co-share, should be helpful in upcoming negotiations. That's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve Rubin, Chairman of the Education Committee, to be followed by Greg Zorthian, Chairman of the Finance Committee.
Well, my colleagues have just taken a 3-page report and brought it down to about 1/4 of an inch. The Education Committee, what I will share with you is that the Education Committee, we had a combined meeting with the Finance Committee. And all the information was presented to us by Dr. Budd, who you heard earlier, Karen Hirsch, the acting chairperson of the BOE, Mike Mason, and Adam Leader from LCC. What wasn't mentioned was that this contract covers the school principals, assistant principals, house administrators, coordinators, and athletic directors. The Education Committee took this up and we voted 0-11-1 not to reject the contract. District 10 abstained, wanting to know more about the percentage of internal versus external hires for the past 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg Zorthian, Chairman of our Finance Committee.
You're in luck. I truly have nothing to add other than we voted 0-11-0 to reject the rejection of this contract, District 3 being absent.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes our committee reports and no one has signed up to debate this item. So Craig, I'm going to ask you to prepare the voting window. Again, it's written in the negative. If you are in favor of rejecting the contract, sending it to arbitration, you would vote yes. If you do not want to reject it, you would vote no on this item. So item 20, reject the contract. Craig, could you please open the window? You'll have a minute on the clock. Okay. Has everyone voted that wants to vote? Okay, Craig, could you please close the window? Okay, if everyone can just settle down while I'm reading the vote. The vote on item 20, those in favor 8, opposed 177, abstaining 6. That item has failed. Craig, could you please show the vote? There being no further business this evening, the meeting stands adjourned. I look forward to seeing you all in October. What? What? What's wrong, Kip? What does LNR want? You what? Hang on. Kip Bergweger, what is? Hang on, hang on. Could everyone just wait a minute? Mr. Bergweger, what did you want to say?
When I sent you the list of motions we made on legislative and rules, one of them dealt with an item that was referred to us at the
Oh.
June meeting, referred to us.
Okay.
And it was
It's it's for
the quick absent, it's
Correct.
it was item 26 on the June call. Education Committee proposed amendments to, questioned the amendments to the proposals that we were making to amend the RTM rules. And the Education Committee described 3 hypothetical scenarios that could arise under it. And the legislative and rules we'll meet at our September meeting. We worked on the item and we'll submit possible amendments at the October meeting, and we request that we be included on the call.
Okay, so you're going to endeavor to possibly include it in the October call, if not October, December then?
So we will have the amendments to it in October, but it'll be decided in December.
Okay, thank you very much. I apologize for forgetting before you got an opportunity to say that.